Mr. Deodoglu, for this analysis. Thank you very much. I'm sure that a lot of words you pronounced this night will be at the heart of our discussion during these 3 days in this MEDays forum. Je voudrais vous proposer maintenant d'accueillir notre troisième intervenant. Je voudrais préciser qu'il a joué un rôle déterminant dans les mouvements d'opposition à l'ancien président du Pérou, Alberto Fujimori, qui pendant 10 ans a dirigé cette nation, qui a été finalement reconnu coupable de meurtre et de violation de droits de l'homme. Et je voudrais préciser que le président qui est parmi nous aujourd'hui, le président Toledo, a dirigé la République du Pérou de 2001 à 2006. Et il est aussi économiste et il a beaucoup travaillé sur des sujets qui intéressent beaucoup de régions du monde. Et je suis convaincu que ces réflexions, ces analyses seront utiles à de grands dirigeants en cette période de remise en question, puisque ces sujets de prédilection concernent la croissance économique et ô combien de nations en ont besoin, mais aussi les réformes structurelles. Je voudrais vous proposer d'accueillir le président Toledo. À vous la parole.
Dear Minister of Foreign Relations of Morocco, distinguished ministers of foreign relations that are attending this meeting organized by the Amadeus Institute, distinguished leaders from Africa, from the Arab world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure the question in your mind is, what is an Indian from Latin America doing in a meeting of North Africa, Africa, the Arab world? It's a legitimate question, but with all modesty, I want first to thank the kindness of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, who had the generosity to invite me to come to Morocco since 2004, when I was a president, and he made a state visit to Peru. And secondly, let me congratulate the organizers of the MEDays, Amadeus Institute. My friends, I'm here because democracy and freedom does not have a nationality. Just as much, human rights do not have a skin color. Democracy and freedom, freedom of the press, human rights are at the basis of what we call today the Arab Spring. People are screaming for the right to choose. People are screaming to be included in the distribution of economic growth. People are screaming to get out of poverty. People are screaming to live in a society with less inequalities. I want to pay tribute to the intelligence, to the courage, to the wisdom and the vision of the leader of this country, of Morocco, to His Majesty, for having listened to his people and have taken the courageous decision to deepen the process of democratization of Morocco. It takes the courage to share power. It takes a vision to produce a transformation. It takes humility to listen to our own people. I recently had the privilege to lead an international mission of observation in the election in Tunis. And I have seen in Tunis men and women with an enormous enthusiasm go and making lines to go to vote, to exercise the democratic right to elect an assembly which in turn will write a new constitution to elect a new president. A country which, since the Turkish Empire, did not know democracy, freedom, the right to choose. Then came the French, and the French were not very democratic in Tunis. And then came a founder of a country, a legend, but he was not elected democratically. Plays a crucial role in history. And then came another person who stayed close to 25 years, who persecuted people who disagree with them. Did not like the freedom of expression, did not respect human rights. Ben Ali. My friends, Tunis is a country who have never experienced the right to elect the leaders. And they were crying just because they had the opportunity to choose. Whatever the decision might be, whatever the preference might be, but you elect, you choose, you are free. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak today, we are writing the pages of the history that will be read in the future with this so-called Arab Spring. Let us not allow our countries to tint our hands with bloods over our own people. If Libya would have done what Morocco has done, or what Morocco is doing, we would have saved so many lives. If in Syria we will listen to the people, we will not be living such a dramatic moments today. I'm a soldier, a rebel for democracy, for social inclusion, for equality. I want to be free. A democracy is not just an act of going to vote in an election day. My friends, you know better than I do. I have led my people. I led my own revolution. And I'm still alive. And now I can tell you, with all humility, that it's not enough to be elected democratically. People in Africa and the Arab world and Latin America, people are expecting not only to have the right to be elected democratically, we have the responsibility to govern democratically. We are not only have the responsibility to govern democratically, we have the enormous challenge of constructing a democracy that delivers concrete and measurable results, that enables people to be included in the benefits of economic growth. This is not a theoretical proposition from a Stanford University professor. I'm talking about my experience as a head of a state. It is not enough to say that we are growing. My country has been growing at an average of 8% for the last 10 years. So we receive a big claps from the World Bank, from the IMF, and from Wall Street. Economic growth, it's a mean, it's not an end. Economic growth only makes sense when it reaches the poorest people of our society. It has come the time to put a human face to economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is, in addition to the democratic challenges, is living a severe global financial crisis. Latin America was perceived 50 years ago as the region that generated indiscipline, disorder, hyperinflation, crisis. And they told us that the Arab world and that Africa were the sources of instability. Well, let me be clear and loud. This last global financial crisis of 2008 and 2009 were not produced by the developing world. Was produced by the Wall Streets of the developing world. Was not produced by Latin America, although we, all of us, have to pay part of the tab of the crisis. If Europe is not able to encapsulate today's financial crisis in Greece, in Portugal, in Spain, in Ireland, in Italy, if they are not able to encapsulate, it would expand and it will bounce to the United States, who, by the way, is not in its most solid economic condition today. If you want an example, just ask the deficit of the United States is today and how much bonds they have sold to China. And if the crisis gets to the United States, it's going to get all over the world because we live an interconnected economic and financial world. My friends, I think that is one element that we share, and I want to share a reflection with you. I don't know what we did in the Arab world, in most of the Arab world, in Africa, in Latin America. But whoever your God might be, he got very angry at us, and he has punished us. And he put in our countries huge amounts of natural resources: gold, silver, copper, oil, gas. And those natural resources could be a blessing and could be a curse. If we are not smart enough to utilize that income to invest in human capital. Secondly, we need not to be complacent by being regions that export natural resources. We need to provide aggregate value to our production, to depend less on the fluctuations of the prices in the international market. Third, we have an enormous responsibility. The leaders of the world today have the enormous responsibility of confronting the challenges of a global development that is sustainable, the global sustainability. Because the contamination of China does not stay within the frontiers of China. The contamination of the water and the environment in Europe, in Asia, in the developed world is not only stay in those developed world. Contamination does not have a frontier. And we have the enormous responsibility not only to make our economies to grow today and to distribute it, but have the responsibility to live a livable world for our children and the children of our children. There is enormous responsibilities on the leaders of the world today. Not only to cope with today's financial crisis, but we need to think what kind of a world we are going to leave for the future generations. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank the organizers of this forum, and I hope that the changes that are taking place in the Arab world and this so-called Arab Spring will end in a shiny democratic summer with freedom and with more equality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.